Good morning, everybody. It's Paul here. Happy Monday. Driving in traffic here on the way to work. But I wanted to talk about the challenges that some businesses have when scaling. And I recently read a book that was recommended by a friend called Scaling Up Using the Rockefella Habits. So the idea is that Rockefeller helped scale and grow his business over time using these types of habits. So what are those habits, and why are they important? So I think the one thing that you really focus on in the book is that it really focuses on the three main principles of business. Again, it's the people, your process, and then the profits will follow, or you make sure you understand your financials. So on the people side, do you have the right people in the right place? Who are the ideal candidates and or people to lead and or to be part of your team? Do you have an ideal person in mind? What is your process, right? So do you have a flow of meetings and of processes to help advance your company forward? And I think this is the important part of this whole book, was they have yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily meetings. And that meeting flow is very important in the sense that everyone has an update for each part and or goals for each day, week, month, quarter, year, whatever the case may be. So that's the real differentiator here. But it's the data behind it and the metrics and how are you measuring your company as a whole. So let's say, for example, your company starts out and you're doing $1,000 a month, right? And it's only you. Do you need to have these weekly, daily meetings? No, but you should have goals associated for each hedge mark. So for the first day, what's your daily goal? What am I going to get done today? Which we've heard this all before, right? The weekly goal, again, same thing. Monthly, when you start pushing it out to quarters, then it becomes a little bit harder. And you have to kind of like almost forecast what you're going to do. How much money you're going to make. Make that your goal. Give yourself a scorecard so that when you succeed, it's showing that progress. Now, when you have companies in hypergrowth who are doing, let's say, 10 million a month, right? You have to treat your time frames almost like full lengths of time, whereas a month would almost become a year, right? So what are you going to get done this month? Right? This month is a hedge mark because it's becoming almost like a year. Or this quarter is almost becoming like a year because you're growing that fast, right? The other thing too is the data behind those numbers is important. But the numbers, right? The profits, the financials. Do you know your numbers? Right? You sound like Marcus Lemonis when you say this. What are your numbers? What are your margins? How do you control your margins? What is your action to reduce your fixed cost so your cost of goods goes down and your margins go up? The biggest cost in most businesses are people, right? So how are you utilizing your people to get the most out of them? Are you building a culture? Are you building a team that is going to work as hard as you are during the entire process? And I think that's the big takeaway, right? Is that it really does start at the top. That leadership and culture starts at the top, and then it works its way down to everybody in the system. Everybody has a place and a process to do their job so that the company as a whole can succeed. And that's what I think that's the whole idea is, right? Is that we have these benchmarks, we have these numbers that we need to hit. And yeah, whether you are a hyper sales organization or a customer service based organization, either way, everyone has a number, right? Everyone has a metric that they have to hit so that they are measured. If the phone rings more than 3 times for the receptionist, that's her number, or that's their number, excuse me. The same thing goes for the leadership. Hey, we put this number out as this is the goal for the year. We need to hit this number. How are we doing it? Does the team have all the tools it needs to succeed so that it can hit that number and grow? As salespeople, we need to use this all the time, right? As sales leaders, you need to know your numbers, right? I preach about this all the time in my trainings, is that you need to know your numbers. What is your goal? Okay, great. My goal is $100,000 for this year. Excellent. Let's break it up into 4 quarters. How are you going to do that? All right, it's going to be 25, 25, 25. What are the key results or key objectives you need to hit that goal and go beyond it? So perhaps you should give yourself a stretch goal, right? Rather than $100,000, say $110,000. So that if you miss 1 month, 1 quarter, you have something to fall back on. And I think that's what the big takeaway is too, right? Is that when you have those numbers, it gives you something to shoot for, it gives you a goal. You should be a competitive person who's motivated by themselves and to win as a whole. And then is it winning or losing? No, it's winning or learning. So you win in a deal, and maybe you didn't get a deal, but what did you learn from not getting that deal? And I think that's the most important thing. This weekend I had a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I went into it with that mindset, right? Is it win or lose? Fundamentally it is, right? But in my mind, because it was my first one, it's win and learn, right? What am I going to learn if I lose to this opponent, right? If I win, great, it's awesome. I'll keep that energy into the next match. If I lose, what am I learning from that encounter and that scenario? Should I have kept my knee up to block to pass, right? Or should I watched the video yesterday, right? I should have definitely scooted away and pushed at the same time and pushed my hips away. I need something I need to work on. So I'm going to be working on it this week in training. And I think that's important. What are you learning? Even if you do win, what are you learning from that? The same thing goes back to these Rockefeller habits, right? Is that these daily meetings, what are your successes? What are your failures or challenges? I wouldn't say failures, I'd say challenges. So that you and your team can succeed. If somebody on your team has a challenge, let's all brainstorm together and figure it out. You should also conduct one-on-ones with your teams or your individual contributors in your teams, because that gives you, number one, the attention that they need to find out what they're struggling with week to week. That weekly meeting is a high-level meeting to discuss the goals for the week. From that monthly meeting, it's like, hey, this month we are really focused on this, this, and this. And the quarterly is a large, long-term goal. Here's our number for the quarter, $1.5 million. How are we going to do that? We're going to break it up. Each person has their numbers they're going to hit. What's your 90-day plan to get that done? Can we get this done? How can we do it? What are we going to do? Anyway, that's my review of the Rockefeller habits scaling up, and I think it's 2.0 is the updated version. Basically, it's the same thing, but it has more updated scenarios and using more updated scenario. Basically, it's a tech company rather than a manufacturing company. So, at the end of the day, that's it. Hope you guys have a great day. This is a great tool for leaders as well, following these habits, following these flows, so that you and your team grow as a whole. Have a great day, guys. Make sure you ring the bell every day. Get after it. Cheers.